Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Moin.
Woo.
Hello. Welcome to the show. This is not Jerry. Who's this? Hello,
I might
Nick.
sound like Jerry from time to time, but I'm Nick from Great Primer.
Yes.
Our accents are very same. Jerry and I grew up in the same town.
Yeah, but I think his voice is an octave lower than yours. There is Manda going Jerry 2.0. You've called it.
Nice.
Hello, Crisp and Dark Dead again. Tough for years. Only not go to which Stanley Demon Sub. Jace, One, Mandapie, and Hazy Boy. Jerry got a haircut.
Stunned Jerry.
This is going to be a running gag of the evening.
I just have to pretend I'm watching football off to the side here and just like, shouting obscenities on it.
That is soccer for all your American friends out there.
It's still football, I think, even in America.
It's
just rebranded.
It's just hilarious having one sport getting various names almost in every variant of the English language. And I sit here thinking to myself, I couldn't be bothered. 20 overpaid dumbasses chasing a blown up leather piece. So, you know,
Wait,
enough money.
Which sport are we talking about? Because I think that covers about 6. I do remember when I first heard about baseball, I was just like, that sounds like rounders. And then I watched a game of baseball and I was like, it's rounders, but a lot less interesting with a lot more rules and a lot more breaks in play. Yeah, I didn't really get that.
And the best part for me about American football is we got Blood Bowl from it. That's about it.
And like Blood Bowl originally, Jarvis Johnson wanted to make that like a sim, almost like a fantasy sim version of American football. And then they realized with playtesting that it just wasn't fun. It was just way too restrictive. So yeah, they fantasied it up a bit more and made it
good,
a bit more
good
fluid.
for them. It went very well, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you can see behind me, but
a wee bit.
All the Blood Bowl back there.
I think the upper 3 I have as well.
Yeah, I got a spare polystyrene pitch for the second edition, so you can play it like, I think it's called Mega Bowl, where it's like in a cross, and you have like 4 teams start at once with one ball in the middle. And that's an amazing way to play Blood Bowl.
Oh, Manda, it's not just hand egg. It could also be claw egg and tentacle egg. Because remember, we've got, what's it called? Mutations for the Ratkin. He can grow weird appendices.
I did write my own rules one time for Blood Bowl based on their mutations. So, like, you know, somebody with like a huge claw would be great for tackling, but would be terrible at catching the ball.
he snipped the ball in half. Oops.
And tree men as well. I did rules for them, like the ball getting caught up in their branches. But they couldn't hand off to someone. I think they had to be tackled by a teammate to knock the ball out of the branches, and then they would pick it up. It all got very complicated and silly.
The tree man has the ball. Now throw the halfling into the tree man to get down the ball.
And then he throws it from there out of the tree. Yeah.
Throwing teammate, one of the best moves in the whole game, in my opinion. It's always...
Could you imagine actual tree men playing on a Blood Bowl field, though? How tall they would be, like ants from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but they're slow.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you're lucky, they fall asleep and take up root and then never move again.
Yeah.
And then some gobble comes along with a chainsaw and just down.
Oh, I love chainsaw gobbos. Oh my god. What a brilliant miniature.
The reason why I love throwing teammate is because that's the one special move I managed to get done with a goblin team and a troll and score a point against elves.
Like I love the rule, but I've always hated that troll miniature with the actual goblin in its hand.
Yeah, that's you're talking
Mhm.
about the last release Games Workshop did.
Right.
Yeah, it always looked to me like a Spanish dancer with a instruments in there and these clapping clams.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you do that? There's so many different poses you could have gone for, but not this twisted, twiggly thing.
Look at this, Dave. Honestly, it's gone into tree-bed puns now.
Yeah, it's a splinter in my eye.
Yeah. Here, like, I mean, if we ever get a chance to play together, I would love to try Mega Bowl with you. I think the 4-player Blood Bowl variant. I know you can do a similar thing in Dungeon Bowl because you can have it laid out whatever way you want and have as many players as you want. But there's
The
something
chances
cool
are
about.
slim to zero, but I'm not
Well,
going to say no.
I could do Essen Spiel one of the years. I don't know how close that is to you.
Essen itself isn't that far away. That's not the real problem, but Essen is so fucking crowded.
The convention.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling stuffed. It's just, yeah, like any good convention, you barely have any room to breathe. I'm not sure how it's going to be this year or next year when most of pandemic is gone.
Yeah, UK Games Expo did it in an interesting way. They broadened their avenues between like they have the entire NEC all done in roads. So you look down and you can see the road name. You know, it might be like Common Street or whatever
City
Warhammer
Planner
Avenue,
2.0.
right? But they actually broadened those avenues, and it made such a difference. I think they now have like 3 of the arenas or 3 of the halls in the NEC. So rather than revert back to like the cramped space, hopefully they just breathe into those 3 spaces.
Yeah, it would be nice if they could keep it that way, but I'm afraid that will change over a short-term time because space is money.
It is, yeah, and Adepticon looked fairly solid. Certain shots that I saw of it looked like there wasn't a lot of breathing space there. And I saw a lot of people reporting flu-like symptoms when they returned home. And
Concrot was a thing even before COVID, so, well.
Yeah. Yes, Manda Pie, that is very true.
Humans are stupid, as the foamy also says. So, today, since Jerry isn't here and can't be holding me accountable, I'm drinking my brown lemonade, for all fun that is, and you have selected some projects for us to view at.
I have, but that lemonade did not look appetizing.
I'll give it that. It doesn't look appetizing, but it tastes really great. It's like, well, you have cola with a hint of orange.
I have my branded Grey Primer drinking vessel.
Do not drink your painting waters.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of work in enamels recently, and those alcohol-based paints as well. I think Tamiya do some of those. They taste so nasty. I stir them with the back of my paintbrush because sometimes they come in like weird shaped bottles or they're too wide for the paint stir. And
then
then
you
I
put
forget.
the back of your brush in your mouth.
And I've got a video coming out tomorrow about my latest project, and I mention it in there, but I'm like, hey, if you're one of those people who does this, and I don't mention it in the video, that's me. Yeah.
Don't do that. That's bad.
Don't do that. I shared that one.
Yeah, that's LSR Spring Clean Tiny Heresy. This looks like some kind of epic 40k-ish stuff.
Yeah, I think it was, there was Adaptus Mechanicus came out, and then they brought out a box called Space Marine, I think, which had a lot of vehicles in it, but I have a feeling these are newer looking.
Could be. Yeah,
I love them.
He says, I bought a 3D printer mostly because part of this project, so I'm guessing those are all printed, more or less.
Yeah. I did a project a while ago on a Titan at Adeptus Adeptus Titanicus scale. And I'd love to have had some tanks like driving in around its feet. But there was nothing available that GW makes anyway.
At least not to any quantity that's to be spoken of.
Yeah. And I think it's the problem if you're trying to talk to if you're trying to like get something promoted by GW in White Dwarf or something, you have to be so careful about what you include. Because it's not like 88, 89 where you could have like scratch built from nothing. Everything now has to have like a copyright GW on the sprue. So for them to do anything with it.
Didn't they also have a rule back in the day? You can bring your scratch build stuff, but you need to have at least 2/3 Games Workshop parts on it or something. I remember number.
Something. Yeah, or some arbitrary figure.
Yeah.
And it's probably still the case for competitions, but I don't know what the number is. Because if you think about it, like GW don't make a lot of they don't make flock. So you got to have that. You got to have like mud textures and things like that. Well, they do some muds, but
don't give them ideas. Next time you'll know they have a strip of flock inserts for your bases for double the price.
€20 for little tub of flock.
I'm actually astounded they have gone that road already with their Warhammer stores to make it a one-stop shop.
I found in my archives when I was doing my current project, I found a thing of their PVA glue, like Citadel PVA glue. I think it's like 1998 or something is the copyright on it. That's fine. I don't care. Yeah.
Well, at that point, they just rebranding stuff, so it's like Neodite and green stuff.
Yeah.
When everybody found out, oh, green stuff is just rebranded Neodite. Let's buy Neodite. That's much cheaper.
Did you ever buy the little tub of green stuff?
No,
liquid green stuff?
I bought one blister of green stuff from a different company ages ago, and I still have half of it. I'm barely using it. I'm not good at that.
Yeah, I mean it's great for painting into like little cracks and things, little seams. It is great, just get a little bit into your onto a little dish or something, mix some water in with it, and just like paint it into the space. Not the GW one.
Not the liquid green stuff.
Oh, it's utter garbage. It just shrinks away to nothing. You might as well have not used anything. Because it looks great going on. You're like, oh, cool. And because of the color, it's easy to see the work you're doing. But you come back to it in an hour, and you're just like, where did it go? And it's just gone right down into the space and shrunk
for those applications, I use the Vallejo putty that's in the tube.
Model putty?
Yeah, it just goes in so nicely, and you just spudge it into the crack you want to cover and use a wet brush and blend it, and it's perfect. Never had any issues with it.
Crispin just wants me to say that out loud, and I'm not going to do it. Because I run a family friend... Always makes me laugh.
It's caulking. So what?
I can't hear it different. It's just
since Mel the terrain tutor uses caulking all the time, what the hell?
But I do love this project. I love those little terrain squares as well. Just because I realized I haven't talked about the project. And I is that Iron Warriors? Is that the black and yellow chevron stuff and the...
Could be. He just calls it his heresy force, so it could be anything. I'm nowhere near anywhere but versatile in 40k lore. I know orcs. That's it. Green's best.
Green's best. I do love orcs because I can't really do human skin. I don't paint that really well. But I love doing orc skin tones because there's just that flexibility. Yes, Panzer.
Pete, welcome. We should make a scoreboard on how often that comes to pass today.
I went to the barbers and I was just like, just dude, give me a makeover. So he gave me
Reinvent
male
my
pattern baldness. Yeah, shave my beard.
Yeah, it's a horrible thing to witness. The decay of Jerry live on television. But I gotta say,
uh,
it's a nice little terrain pieces that he's doing here.
mhm. Love
Uh,
those.
these bunkers give me a hell of a StarCraft vibe.
Mm. And I think the texture is really lunar looking, like it looks like our moon. And I think it could be a relatively easy effect to get, but it's easy to overdo it at the same time. I think they've done a really good job of just doing enough. Um,
Yeah,
but no,
it's
very, very cool.
it has an atmosphere, even though there is no atmosphere on the moon. But you get what I mean, and yeah, it looks like anything. It could be just a very ruined city,
Mhm.
or all the ground down rubble.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it works either way. And yeah, I've done stuff like that in the past where I've tried to replicate like blasted terrain, like World War II, sort of bombed out buildings and the surrounding, streets.
Mm-hmm.
And it's surprisingly monochrome in real life. Like when something like that happens and there's sort of dust and debris thrown across the street, it's not colorful. It
No,
is
not really.
monochrome. Yeah. It's just because there's so much usually plaster dust and like brick dust that it just goes kind of gray brown.
Yeah, it's only
Easily.
when there have been 2 or 3 days later when the most dust has settled, maybe a rain washed most of it away, that
Yeah.
color on walls gets back, and you can
Mhm.
start to see the interior of a housing when tapestries and whatnot is being shown color on the wall,
Mm.
pictures.
Yeah, for sure. But no, really great job.
I think he cheated a bit with the choice of army, just painting them silver and putting in some random black and yellow markings.
That's like saying the Emperor cheated when he was just like, I'll make one blue, I'll make one red, I'll make one silver with a bit of
No,
yellow and
the
black.
emperor didn't cheat. He was just lazy.
No, I think because it's the only color in the battlefield, that yellow, it just makes it really pop as well. So I think it's a good choice. Yeah.
What annoys me a bit about his prints, when you look at them from the side or from the front, they look quite decent and okay, and nothing much to phone home about. But from the back, every tank at the back somehow goes sideways the track, like the FDM was
Oh,
too
yeah,
hot.
yeah.
Like they
That's
got kicked
interesting.
in the back. But on every tank, so I'm guessing that's some kind of problem within the print.
Yeah, I see that now. No, I can't see anything else. But it's wonky rear end.
It's nothing too bad because mostly you're seeing your back and not your opponent, but
You
it's
see
odd.
those? I mean, it's not the creator's problem here. It's GW's problem. See the guns with no elevation? That just drives me nuts. I know they're supposed to be tank killers or knee cappers for Titans, but
I'd
what
say
happens if it's at a distance? What are you supposed to do?
and I would say the kneecap of a Titan is way more up than just
Yeah,
going
maybe it's a
straight.
it's a shinner weapon, but what happens if it's far away? The thing's gonna hit the ground long before it gets near.
Yeah, but we're talking about a game of make believe, so
No, you can't play that card, Tim. I won't let you play that card. The stuff
no,
matters.
okay. See, Games Workshop, I tried. You're the baddies. I can't help it.
You have to drive around looking for a little hill to get elevation on your target.
There's two Space Marines walking in front and then going up, down, up, down.
Yeah. In the Horus Heresy, you just aim for the nearest pile of bodies and just drive it up.
That's probably true. Or just use some crater from somebody else and just drive in there and have your front elevated that way.
Yeah. Look at your loading times.
Yeah, this is a big picture. And I just wanted to have this because this is 3 times the backside of tanks. It's just
Are they all a bit?
they're all
skew
wonky.
They are too.
Just look
So
at it.
that must be the file. That can't be.
Either the file or it's actually because of if it's an FDM printer that the rear end is just too hot and it just gets distorted because the
Okay.
extruder is too warm. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if it's actually in the file or it's a resin print, then it would be even weirder.
Wonky donkey Panzer. Say what you see. Wonky donkey.
It's all shoddy and wonky. That does look like a resin print.
Resin, oh wow, I like that scale beside it. God, they're tiny.
I'd say that's resin.
Yeah, it looks resin to me.
Maybe poorly pre-supported. What do I know? It's 3D printing. I have no clue.
Who knows? I just know that when I order resin prints, sometimes they arrive at my house with a curve to a lot of pieces or a warp. And I think that's always just in case it gets put away warm, like it gets packaged warm. And I think that's it comes out of the mold before it's cooled. I have no idea how these things work, but every time I've ordered something resin, it's had a band.
Oops, that's the wrong button. But that's a nice project by Elisar2590.
Nice.
Yeah, Chaos is supposed to be warped, but I think that's pushing the limits a bit. If functionality of your tank is impaired by your rear tracks going off the sides.
Yeah.
Resin prints will bend if not cured correctly, says Crispin. And I think, judging by his gigantic, tiny fighting starship, perfect scale for a billion suns, yeah, I think he knows what he's talking.
Yep. So I added the next one there.
That's by Holly. Is it? Yes, it is. Lake Town in need of spring cleaning. Lake Town. That rings a bell.
The Hobbit, or was it in one of the Lord of the Rings ones as well?
It's of the... let's just say it's part of Middle-earth.
It's part of Middle-earth, yeah.
It's somewhere, and it has been mentioned in multiple things, and yeah. But I guess, yeah, you're probably right when we are saying it's a center point in The Hobbit.
So I've just recently painted one of these, and one of the Lake Town houses. I think that's what the GW kit is called. But the reason I shouted out this one is because look at this scratch building. Isn't it just wonderful?
Scratch building is always a wonderful thing, in my opinion. Especially since... no matter how much skill you put in it, or you have, or you don't have, or whatever, it's one of a kind every time. And that's something nobody can take away from you.
Yeah.
Plus, it looks like these soft-baked cakes, or whatever those are, seem to be the perfect size for.
Like the non-healthy, healthy breakfast biscuits. Yeah. Yeah, those little the little gray ones, that was I did one of those recently, and it was a fabulous kit. But when I saw and I knew how much work went into painting my one, but looking at all of this is a tremendous amount of work.
Are you eating unhealthy cake again? No, I'm building terrain.
Yeah. Why do you eat so much of that?
Terrain building, that's part of the hobby. Don't tell me how to hobby.
Like, that looks cracker. Some MDF in there as well.
Yeah, and it looks like there's still some things to go, as there's still plastic kits sitting around.
Yeah, with the little GW Lake Town house, you get 3 like little jetties three plastic jetties, and then you get a rowing boat as well. And I used mine as a little outhouse, but I think it could be used as like an extension to the main property or whatever.
An outhouse.
I know that's what I use mine as. I put a chicken on top of it as well. But the amount of texture that's in them is great. And I think the challenge here will be matching the quality of the scratch built stuff to the plastic stuff, because that's a big ask of anyone.
Yeah, but given the fact that the shape of that bloody cake box is almost on point, that's just, yeah, slapping on some. Use some balsa wood if you don't use coffee stirrers. That's more malleable. It's easier to get the surface of wood scratched in with some kind of wire brush. The roofing could be challenging to get in scale. But
Yeah, I mean, Green Stuff World they do like the rollers, and they also do like a silicone thing for doing those kind of textures on roofs. So you know, they could definitely get something like that. I think it's about 20 quid or something for the silicone set for
I
doing
was thinking
medieval
about
buildings.
why not going with teddy bear fur and do some thatching.
Ooh,
Just to mix the to mix the street appeal a bit up, so that you not just have shingles but different kinds of roofing.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I mean, they could also take imprints off of the, like, those windows with that lead. Is that called flashing, the crisscross design on the windows?
Oh, I don't know.
You could put like a bit of putty into that and take a print from that, and then just recast it. If you
Recasting,
wanted to
that's
make
heresy.
I know.
Games Workshop will come for you.
Yeah, it's on record now. He's like taking prints off of their stuff. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but I think something like those windows you get it relatively cheaply as an MDF kit as well, as extension. I know there's a German shop that sells nothing but windows and doors and that make from laser cut MDF. So just
oh wow.
glue them to the outside and you're golden.
I love like Jack one. If it doesn't get a golden button, we should burn Coleraine, and then Panzer's like, should burn Coleraine regardless. I like Coleraine now. I didn't like it when I was growing up, but it was it only had the Jet Center, which is like a leisure center and a cinema. That's all it had going for it. But it is quite nice to wander around now.
I never have been to Ireland nor North Ireland. The most west I got in England was Eastbourne. And that's about it.
I used to live in Wales, and then I was living in the Isle of Man. Then I grew up in the Northern Ireland. Now I live down in Southern Ireland. So I'm kind of slowly doing the tour of Ireland and British Isles. But
two
you
times.
should visit.
It's times nice. In Eastbourne for summer holidays as a kid, and then later Edinburgh, London, and I can't remember. We were on a from school vacation, another part of England, but I can't remember where. So long ago.
Yeah. I think it's just because it's so handy for us just hopping across, you know. But yeah, Edinburgh is fantastic. Great place. Well worth a visit. But Coleraine, I think, is definitely the jewel of the British Isles, you know. That's where because you can go in and you can pester Justin, and there's no greater gift than being able to just walk into a shop and annoy Justin. It's just
bring him some veggies.
I heard Jerry say that. I did visit the shop a couple of months ago and played some games with Jerry and Justin was there, and we had the unhealthiest lunch from a local chippy, but it was fantastic.
Well, if it's occasionally just done as a meal, it's okay. Usually, it's the quantity that makes the poison.
Yeah, I remember when I worked in a camera shop, there was a butcher's next to us that used to do like sausage rolls and chicken, like sorry, sausage in a half baguette and chicken, like fried chicken in half baguette. Oh my God, I think I doubled in size in the first 2 years. It was incredible, but the worst.
Yeah,
Somebody's at Prince Charles in Edinburgh. I once met Fergie and Andrew. There you go. There's a claim to shame.
while we're on the subject of royalty, just shortly before Queen died, I read an interview with one of her long-standing butlers, and he told a story that they were somewhere more private, so they were just on a walk, and some American tourists came along, and they didn't recognize the Queen, and they just talked to him, and then made
Wow.
and were totally, oh, the Queen is so nice and we would like to meet her, and they didn't say a thing. And then at some point they asked him to take a picture of those two and the lovely old lady, and the butler ended with, I find it hilarious to think that somewhere in America there's a couple showing around pictures of that nice British lady, which is the Queen.
That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's just nice to walk around incognito, I guess.
I must follow the Lake Town project there because I keep forgetting to follow people. I just refresh like the project's homepage and usually look at that page one of stuff, but it's good to think to keep track of these.
That can be good on some days. On other days, people try to shove in everything and you just get lost.
Yeah. I don't know if you've talked about this one recently or any of these links recently, but
No,
I just
it would show I would have said something, and even if people would remember.
Yeah.
Because we're all old here. There's not a single young one in this.
But I love the look of this one.
Somehow it reminds me of something. I don't know why. So you're a thief. Ha! Ha! Splendid.
Is that Og or Og for the pig?
Og.
Og. Because Og in Irish is like young.
Robin Hood and Og as a pig. I that's my interpretation, but I'm German, so what do I know?
Who knows?
It is a foreign language to me, after all.
Do you like the curved bases?
I don't mind as much because I've got some from More Miniatures and from Heresy Andy, and they all come with the round bases. And since I'm not using them for any game, they're just I see them as a micro plinth.
Yeah, I think that's I look at these as like little display pieces.
Yeah, exactly. They just get on the shelf and look pretty.
Mm-hmm.
You stay there, you look pretty and attract customers. I love these Time Bandit miniatures. Somehow I feel Jerry would be saying, I've got these all. I need to paint them at some point.
Of course he does. And he'd be like, they're right here somewhere.
Yeah,
they're just...
Or in the next room beneath a mountain of lead.
Do you remember the time he fell onto miniatures?
Oh yeah, when
do you remember that?
his 15 mil
like a
Romans,
strip
Greeks,
or something?
Something with very pointy sticks next to his bed. And he impaled himself.
That's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Yes, as Zulus it was. Oh my god. So did I hear a rumor that Time Bandits was being remade? Did I hear that recently? Because that terrified me.
The movie? Oh, I hope not.
I really hope not, because it's Terry Gilliam, right? The original.
Yeah. There have been some remakes that should have been made. Or even some sequels. Like Willow, for example.
I haven't watched the series yet. I saw the promos for it and they were a bit cringe. So
yeah, and I think I've gotten through the first 15 minutes of the first episode, and nah, bro, can't handle
Yeah.
that. The movie was fine. It's a children's movie from the late 1890s. It's what it is. I don't know. It
Yeah,
doesn't work.
the movie sort of has that like charm to it, and Val Kilmer's amazing in it. But the series just didn't grab me straight off. But I agree with you, Chris. I think remaking or not relaunching Time Bandits would be good. Maybe a cleaned up print of it.
Yeah, if they find some master tape and can scan a 4K release to make it look better, that I'm all for that. But never don't redo it.
Yeah. Because I managed to get my hands on Threads is one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's one of the darkest movies of all time. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It was about a nuclear attack on Sheffield, and it's dealt with in a very dry documentary style. It's like a very British person talking over the top of it, and he's explaining about the the mega deaths and things like that. But they did like a re-released, cleaned up version of it, and it's stunning. It's truly stunning. And if they can do it with a film that was as cheaply made as that, or cheap looking as that, I think it could be. Time Bandits could look fantastic. Yeah, I did see The Miracle Mile. Really, it just puts panic in me every time I watch that, because it's just the ticking clock side. Miracle Mile is some guy just accidentally, or he just happens to lift a ringing payphone, and he hears a thing he shouldn't have heard that relates to an impending attack outside the coffee shop. Yeah, and he wants to get to his girlfriend across LA. So the whole movie is him just trying to get across LA while the panic of this developing situation takes over the city. And the city makes it
like
harder
The Day
and harder.
After.
Yeah, I mean, The Day After is kind of like the American version of Threads. Threads was very, very realistic and dark, whereas Day After was like, don't worry, folks, the sun's still shining.
Yeah. Oh, my hair's falling out. I don't have anything to put my things in it anymore.
And had Mahoney in it from Police Academy.
It's so long
in a serious role.
It's so long ago that I can't remember who's in this. Yeah, terrible films for a
Goblins.
light entertainment.
Goblins, they're absolutely one of my favorite fantasy creatures. I think they're just amazing.
And they're so versatile. You can make them look like a proper army, like these, or you can go absolutely bonkers on them.
Yeah, and look at those bases as well. They're just glorious. Love that toadstool. I see Green Stuff World have just released like a toadstool resin set. But the toadstools are very pointy. They're more kind of
like the GW ones are currently doing.
Yeah, like underground types of ones, like cave toadstools or something. Whereas these round top ones they're really lovely. Oh, nice.
Knight Mirgalbeck, Wizard Kribin, Drummer Duach. I'm not going to try to pronounce that.
Oh, you were killing it,
Yeah, I'm slaughtering the names. I'm butchering them.
They are absolutely beautiful, though.
Apprentice Mott. Well, that's an easy one. Yeah, at some point in the past, I tried to pronounce an Irish song title, and I think it nearly killed Jerry.
Do you remember what it was?
Not really. It was something. It was a musical piece my daughter was playing on her piano lessons, and I can't even remember what the translation was. Jerry told me, but I totally forgot because I was so embarrassed of his facial expression after me trying to say that name. It's just like
you hurt his heart. You just wounded him.
I think it couldn't have been worse if I had a chalkboard and nails and just go.
I think it's the same with my wife who's Irish, and when I when I first started, coming down towards Dublin, and I'd be pronouncing the street names and things that are written in Irish, and I was just, yeah, I was not doing myself any favors by trying to say those out loud.
Are you going to try to get yourself sleeping on the couch again?
Yeah, but by pronouncing some the Baile Haclea, which is Dublin in Irish, that one took about 30 attempts to get anywhere near right. But yes, I just spotted Panzer's thing about the 60s movie called The War Game, I think, was the BBC one. War Games was more like the 80s Matthew Broderick one.
Yeah,
I think it was called The War Game, the BBC
War
one that was
Games
banned.
was the one with the rogue computer going mental.
Going nuclear.
The only course to play is not to play.
But the War Game, I think it was called, was the BBC one that got banned because it was so hopeless. And they were like, we're telling people to duck and cover and put, doors over themselves in the center of their homes and they'll be fine in 2 weeks. This movie's telling them they're all going to die.
Yeah, it's like the antithesis to When the Wind Blows.
Oh my god, that book and cartoon.
That movie was highly disturbing to me as a young grown-up.
And loads of people who worked on it had to quit the project. And they kept going through animators because they were just breaking down with what they were doing to, what was it? What were they called? The couple, Jim and Hilda, was that it?
I think so. I can't remember. It was just, it's a lovely elderly couple somewhere on the outskirts of a town, somewhere in nowhere land. The last ones to survive.
And the melted road got me the most, I think. That was like, good God.
Yeah, his fantasy, he fantasizing about how he would defend home against if the Russian came along. God, how far off can you be?
Yeah.
How departed from reality can you be?
Right, and they're over in Russia, they wouldn't be doing any better. No one would be doing well. I remember there was a video game called DEFCON something or other, which was like the display boards from NORAD in War Games, where it shows like a wireframe world. And in the game, you pick a nation, and then your job is like to deploy your forces. And the name of the game was something like DEFCON Everybody Dies was like the name. And I was like, holy shit, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think the only people that live in Russia today that would survive something would be in the outer skirts of some frozen desolate wastelands where nothing is.
Did you ever see On the Beach, the film about like the it was like a submarine crew, I think a US submarine crew down in Australia, and the war is going on in the northern hemisphere.
Oh yeah, and there's this poison cloud going around.
Yeah,
and then there's this one guy just killing himself with his car in the garage.
Like, I mean, I know that you're just really regretting having me on your show as we talk about the futility of global thermonuclear war, but we're doing it with a smile.
And also, those movies were meant as a cautionary tale, and maybe people should start listening to these again.
Sure, yeah. Go watch Threads, and then you'll just be like, "Oh, maybe we should be nicer to each other."
Yeah.
While we can.
What got me about the beach the most was when they went back to the States, just to quote die there where we lived, and the one guy just fled the submarine, grabbed a pack of beer, and just started fishing in a dead city.
Yeah, and I think they remade that actually as well. I think there's a 2000s maybe version of that. Nowhere near as good, nowhere near as impactful, but still, yeah.
I think what made those movies more impactful is the actual threat that was looming at the time.
Sure, because especially like Threads and
Cold War was imminent. It was a thing. People were scared. And in the 2000s, Soviet Union just dissipated into nothingness. And what could happen? What could possibly go wrong?
We got pretty close there for a while.
There's a Putin.
I have another. Do you want me to give you another project?
Yes, why not?
Boom.
Toad-licking toads.
But I love that last one. Very, very cool.
Sprinkling challenge Geiger's Gene Stealers about Thursday. I
Not
always
much
thought
here.
the issue was called Wednesday, but again.
Just a couple of images in this one, but I like the ambition of trying to replicate H.R. Geiger, their work.
Yeah, I must confess, having his name read in so many ways, I can't even really think if he pronounced it Geiger himself or Giga or any other amalgamation of that.
Who knows? All I know is that my mother bought me one of his art books.
Oh God! Did she know what is in there?
When I was a kid, she was like, "I know you like the Alien film, so here's this book." And I was like, "Oh, wow! Did you look at it?" She was like, "No." And I was like, "That's cool."
Don't do it. It's totally not full of penis ladies and baby bullets.
I remember, like, we used to watch Aliens when we were kids all the time. It would just be you'd pick someone's house to go to for the day, and you'd watch Aliens and just hang out and talk about it.
Yeah.
And I remember telling one of my friends, like, it's like just, it's just genitalia. And he was like, "What?" I was like, "The whole film is just genitalia." And he was like, That's crap." And then we watch the first alien comes in. It's like, "Oh, dude."
Yes, James. Jerry's beer was bad.
Yeah, went and got a makeover. Slight change of voice.
Oh, if you still fancy the art of H.R. Geiger, there's a recent video game that's absolutely on par of that. It's called Scorn.
That is the weirdest video game. Like no heads-up display. It's kind of like a hell simulator where you're restarting the machinery of hell, right?
Yeah, it's great, and I think there's. Have you played it through?
I played about 2 hours of it, and then I had this. What do you call it? I don't have an Xbox One X, so I was only able to play it on like a live stream thing, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
So when I switched off the Xbox, I lost all progress.
Okay. So if you ever get to play it on PC or something, there will be a level that really scared the shit out of me, because suddenly there's one big entity and this giant head follows you. It keeps staring at you. And then you have to shoot it from below and rip his limbs off, and that's really unsettling.
Like the first mission is taking one of those pods off the wall.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so far so good. And then it turned around and it was like in agony. It was a little
and then you have the
scrunched person.
And then you have the choice to either put him in that one box where he gets scraped out and killed, or you put him in the other pod where he just gets smashed and killed.
Mine, he had a circular saw, and then it like tortured him, but then he was free of his pod, and he kind of just sort of slumped around behind me.
Yeah, but you need his hand.
Yeah, for opening a door or something
as a secondary key later. And when I got to him, I put him in the other pod where he just gets mashed, scooped out and killed.
I was just looking. James said, "Did you get the Nick Starter?" This is my new business that I'm starting. It's called Nick Starter, where I come around to your house and steal your stuff.
I thought the Nick Starter was some kind of other adventure.
Yeah. Poor James is confused because I'm just clearly not Jerry.
Although maybe he has drunk too much.
When I met him up in Coleraine, those weeks ago, all of the stories we had, we like lived in the same world in Antrim, but we just didn't mix with each other, so our friends didn't know each other. It's just bizarre. We knew all the same places.
Yeah, it's for me. It's most the other way around. I meet someone and from our town here locally, and after telling one or two stories, yeah, we probably have been around the same parties for the last 30 years and just never talked to each other.
Yeah.
That's a lot of aliens.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this one goes. That's a huge painting pile. But I know that you can
Here we
rattle
are.
through them.
Stay classy.
Ah, yeah, stay classy. Look at that. Totally PG, totally safe for work. Everything by this artist. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
And good old fire. There's what the last 2 editions of Space Hulk there.
Yeah, which I don't own.
I have the Blood Angels from the most recent one, because they're gorgeous miniatures. But I'm hoping they do another one. Maybe they don't need to with boarding actions or something. But there's something pure about a boxed game.
Yeah, it also the hype train don't seem to be that bad for those as for any other thing they release currently.
Yeah, yeah. It seems to be they're having a nice little time of. They're pretty much saying, "Oh, ninth was way too complicated. We understand that, so we're going to simplify it, but not make it simple. Just simplify it."
Yeah, let's just wait on how that turns out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't play games. I'm just so into miniatures. I'm so into diorama building that I'm just happy there's stuff coming. And usually their starter sets are such insane value that even if you don't want everything, somebody will normally pay you for
the
if you want to
other
cut it in
half.
half. Yeah, yeah. It's nice to have the book though. But just reading the.
Yeah,
Have we missed anything in chat?
I'm just waiting for 10th edition to go the way that Age of Sigmar when they start with a single page of rules and some supplements, and the next thing you know, you have a library of books.
Yeah, I see. I like the miniatures. I like the diorama building, but I also love the art and the lore. So I tend to get the books if it's something that's going to be cool, like orcs. Then I'll buy the codex. I never get as far as the rules bit. I just love looking at the art and stuff.
Well,
Can I give you one more?
Yes, of course.
This is the cheeky one.
Yeah, I've seen the comment and was wondering what does he mean by cheeky one, but
it's called shameless self-promotion is what it is.
shameless self-plug. I like Shore and a Farmyard. So this is what you talked about earlier about the Games Workshop set that you've used.
That's it, exactly. And you can see how I've used a little hut there as an outhouse with a chicken on top of it. But a beautiful set, really fantastic textures throughout, and really reasonably priced as well.
That's a bit irritating. What's the tank doing there?
Right. So this is my first contact diorama with what's it like for civilians to first meet the forces of the Imperium. And having 2 Dark Angels tanks rolling up on this little house is the whole concept.
Well, rolling is a bit of a stretch, isn't it?
Oh, well, that one's floating.
Yeah.
But the other one's going to be rolling.
Oh,
that's yours, James.
That's a bloody nice paint
the
job.
land. Oh, cheers. The Land Raiders are lovely. I always wanted one when I was a kid, and they've evolved nicely.
I think that needs some interesting what do you call it, Easter eggish detail. Like
on the tank,
some orc head somewhere, or a hidden goblin.
So I did put jerry cans on that, so there is a little Easter egg on that. There are I think 6 blue jerry cans because I know how much he loves Everton. So I put those on top of it. Yeah, you can just see the edge of them there. So I've added a bit of stowage to that. There's like, ammo crates and things like that. And it's all kind of lashed together with a bit of barbed wire. But a nice kit to paint.
Yeah, I think it. How was assembly?
That's fine. Honestly, the tracks are straightforward. I usually, when I'm assembling, I'll open out like the pages, and on top of the page itself, I'll clip off all the bits for that page and set them down in place. And then I just work my way around them, like shaving off mold lines and stuff. But I know that it's risky, because if I was to hit that with my arm or something and just like
I was
scatter
just
all the
going
bits.
to say I
Yeah.
would never do that because I know myself. Either I need to sneeze very hard, and
Yeah.
then everything
Yeah.
goes out the window, or I very suddenly need the space for something different, and then you're starting to lift everything and go sideways.
Yeah.
Now, parts remain in the sprue until they are needed. At
So I
least
did
for
that.
me.
I remember putting together these orcs. I think they were boys, something like that. And it was just like all these torsos, legs, heads, whatever. And I was like, cool, I'll just put all the torsos in a tub, all the, right arms, left arms, whatever. And started cleaning them up, and then started to put them together. And I was like, nothing fits. And I thought it was just it was such an old kit that I just assumed it was anything goes anywhere, but it wasn't. It was all very specific. So yeah, that was not my finest hour.
Was it the third or fourth edition where they switched to the big bulky orcs, the after Gorka Morka?
Like where they became sort of that gorilla
Yeah.
body. Yeah,
I
yes, well spotted, Demon Sub in the middle of miniatures.
I wasn't very much fond of those orcs at first because I liked the Gorka Morkas much more, but to be fair, those sets build dynamically very well.
Mm.
They are so nicely modulated. You have the pivot point on the neck for the head, you have the pivot point on the hip and the leg joints, and you have a flat attachment surface for the arms. And you just go, shake it, baby. Whatever sticks, sticks.
Yeah, whatever, and whatever way you want to put a little bit of difference between miniature to miniature. It might only be subtle. It might be like a slight twist to the waist or something. But
do the twist in the waist, have the head bit tilted, looking through the scopes or whatever.
Yeah, and I've always liked that. I think that I also like the simian sort of that gorilla shape to them, because I think orcs need to be visually disturbing. They need to be something that if you came up against one on the battlefield, you would have that moment of like, oh god, it's gonna take a while to hack into this thing. I didn't like what they did with them in Age of Sigmar. I can't remember what they're called.
Uruks?
Yeah, with the elongated bodies.
Yeah.
It was weird to me, and they've never sat well with me, that shape.
And I don't think they've went very far with those. I think they stuck more or less with the traditionals.
Yeah, I have a few of the bigger sets in that, and that there's some big swamp monster thing. I can't remember the name of it, and it's beautiful. But the actual orcs themselves, yeah, I just didn't like that, and I didn't buy the codex as a result. And like I said, I normally like orc stuff, but those stretchy bodies just were weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, orcs was what got me into miniature hobby the first time round, I think.
Oh yeah, Blood Bowl for me.
The first things I've read was while on guard duty when serving in the Bundeswehr was a White Dwarf back in the day, and the next thing I bought was a second edition Orc Codex for 40k.
Oh, cool.
That's still sitting in my cupboard behind me, and reading through that is still funny today.
I gave away a lot of my early Warhammer 40,000 books, and I really regret it because of the comedy. Because you can just read through it; it's just so funny. But then Blood Bowl is like that
that's
as well.
in there. I mean, just the chapter on Storm Boys. Yeah, Storm Boys are weird. They like to polish their shoes and march around and shout orders. But that's just the young ones. That's just the occasional older orc that's there. But they grow out of it. It's like the total reverse of Teenage Rebels.
How much time do we have? Do we have time for more?
Infinite time.
Infinite time.
Well,
All
we are
right.
at 1 hour, so we still have ways to go. Let's see. Where's my? There's Ama-chan doing a reimagining of her paint scheme.
Yeah, I really like, those tanks were both Blood Angel that I just did there, Dark Angels that I just did, and I've really, anytime I'm doing a diorama, I get into the lore as well, just so that I'm not talking garbage in my videos. And that I'm not
that
really
will make the
breaking
fanboys
rules.
come after you.
Always. Actually, they start with.
Actually, you will have known that this isn't correct.
And
when Girly Man said,
"Girly Man," I start with a rule of cool. That's it. And then I sort of think, in reality, what would these guys be doing? Like, would they be like, oh, we don't have the points to put that missile launcher in the middle of our tank? Or would they just be like, we've got a space, we're going to put a missile launcher on the tank?
Well, we have this equipment, sadly we can't take it with us. Why not? It's in the book.
Yeah, let's just stick it on there somewhere, wrap a tarp around it, it'll be fine. if Gilliman comes looking, he's like, that's not in the codex, we'll have the tarp over it. Yeah. But yeah, I get because people want to play games and then they want to adhere to the rules of the game. But when I'm doing it, it's all, that's the wrong shade of green. It's like, does it look cool? Is it badass with that extra weapon on it? Then I'm going to put the extra weapon on it.
Is it just me, or is this... somehow he's looking shorter than usual? Or is it just the pose with the big shoulder pauldron that he looks so stunty?
I don't think we can call firstborn stunties. I think that's kind of disrespectful to them. They were around for a very long time before.
Oi, mate, you're a bit of stunty one, aren't you?
When Gilliman rolls up on Baal with his bucket full of, lankies. Did we go back to my project? Because
James was nagging about I didn't leave a comment about the visiting, so...
Oh, really? Thank you, James.
It's not like that would change anything.
Yeah, I think this is what drew me to this one as well. I love seeing people's reference images. I like seeing where they're pulling the stuff from. And whether it's inspiration or color reference, even if it's the wrong shade of green.
Well, that's just because your monitor isn't calibrated correctly. If your monitor was correctly calibrated, that green would be absolutely spot on.
I'll have you know.
Well, actually, my Deltoy is...
Well, as a photographer, I think you'll find that...
Oh, God, please.
So that's the thing. Like, when I used to do like press and sports photography, and I started with like film SLRs, and then I moved on to digital. But those early digital SLRs, like early 2000s, oh my God, the color was so wonky on them. So you had to calibrate your monitor to know exactly where you were. Because I was sending stuff to magazines and newspapers, and you're sending stuff off, and you're like, I have to be sure that this is actually going to print as green or red or whatever.
Calibrating your monitors is a fun job.
Yeah, I haven't done I think monitors are a lot better than they were in the early 2000s. But
yeah, but if you're really into content creating, it's an investment that pays to get yourself a decent calibration tool.
Are you saying I just put out any old crap? Is that what you're saying? It's just like, when it's done, you'll just ship it.
It's mainly because most panels are made by the same two companies, so you're getting more or less the same. It's depending on who sells you the panel, it's how much work they put in calibrating it from the factory.
Yeah.
So the cheap ones aren't calibrated anywhere close, so you're just getting what is shipped from factory and can be a hit or a miss. And if you're trying to do productive stuff, you might want to invest the €100 for a color calibration tool.
I remember they used to be called spiders or something like that.
Yeah.
You would actually
Screen
physically
spiders,
set them on the
I
screen.
think.
Yeah. But yeah, I think brightness is where it gets me more than it would be in color rendition. I think as cameras have got better, you can sort of rely on them a bit more to be producing a decent color, but not a TM Pantone, because like said in the chat there, you got to pay for that.
Yeah, or you go full black and white.
Right, and that's what I used to do in weddings when I was using the digital SLR in those early days of digital SLRs, where it was like, I just can't trust that
the color accuracy.
Yeah, it's going to render. So I would normally have like a film body, like a Nikon F5. I'd normally have that over my shoulder, and I would shoot off like a couple of rolls of the clothing and stuff like that, those kind of shots. And then the rest would be digital black and white. And it was always the digital black and white that blew them away.
It's mostly the composition, not the color.
Right. Yeah.
You can't. Sure. You can correct color. In hindsight, you can't correct composition.
No.
If the groom has his best part hanging out of his trousers, it's just like.
Yeah, I shot a tattoo convention one time, and one of the guys had really obscene T-shirt on, and I was like, is there any chance you could cover that? And he lost his mind with me. I was like, I can't send that image to the magazine, and you're one of the winners of the competition, so it's up to you. But he was adamant, and they ran it in the magazine. I think I was just being too precious. The magazine didn't care.
Well, it's let's say it hadn't been a tattoo magazine, but a local newspaper, that would have potentially gone different.
And I think you always have to be cautious of that when you're doing photography. But yeah, I was a wedding photographer for a very short time. It was too tough a gig for me. I would happily do conflict. I did a lot of like motorbike road racing stuff, Isleman TT and Northwest 200, all that. And that was terrifying, but that was a lot less terrifying than a single wedding. Yeah.
Oh, Panzer Kaputt, you wouldn't want to know what kind of weddings I'm attending. Remember, I'm a filthy German.
Well, they're like pagan ones in the woods.
Yeah. Oh, actually, one of my friends did that because she lives in the woods and considers herself a witch. It was all well clothed, but it wasn't a classical wedding by any stretch of the imagination. Apart from the legal side, they actually had to do and sign documents and stuff, but everything else, the festivities were held in the woods.
The government always has to get their Euro idea, don't they?
Yeah,
yeah.
If it doesn't carry a stamp, it's not valid.
I love seeing people getting, wed in like costumes, and I also like sort of those pagan rituals and things like that. I just think it's so cool. It just is so different, and from doing photography at things like that, it was just so much more interesting to go to than another rented suit wedding. Yeah.
And after all, it's the happiest day of two people, and they should do it as they see fit. So.
Absolutely.
Bollocks. If they want to go wedding in their diving dress.
Yeah, dress as squirrels. Go dress as squirrels. Whatever brings you joy, do it. Do you want another one last project?
Yeah, we can do one more. I think
right.
one more is possible. Well, let's see. Reborn by Zebra Outrider. What am I looking at here? What is that? A dead baby's head with some lamps?
That's exactly what it is. It's the magnificent, the brains of the team and Kill Team Ensemble. Yeah, it's tightly scripted. We pretend. I was like, oh, go on, do me a favor, give me one more project, but it's all scripted. We're just, yeah.
Don't tell them the secrets.
I'm reading Jerry's script right now, so.
Jerry is just
Everton! Like
Jerry is sitting off the side and screaming in my ear.
Yeah, he's like, why is he not talking about football? he doing?
Those are interesting looking paint schemes.
Aren't they great?
I love this Skeksis head. The zine
Mhm.
shed on the far right.
Yeah, there's just something about this really just sparks joy in me. I don't know about naked pagan weddings in the forest, but this sparks joy in me.
We weren't naked. It was just fun and fire.
Right. Sure.
If we had been naked, the neighbors might have come over, and we didn't want that to happen.
So, in your naked, blue painted, fiery bodies, did you then have to wander into town to go to like the government office, the registry, and
No, they did that beforehand on their own. So it was all set and done when the guests arrived, and we had our festivities and open fire sausages.
Is this woad paint dripping off you and blood falling from your axe onto the nice lady's floor?
Now, since we were all outside, there was no blood on the floor.
Look how cool that is. So yeah, that makes me think of the old GW stuff where it was these, the mutations. You would see them in you'd see them in Blood Bowl. You'd see them in some of the
in second edition Warhammer in the rulebook, the Space Marines with the mutated heads and arms.
Yeah, and the Accursed Cultists, I got those quite recently, and they're fantastic looking. They're just, you can see the human that was there, and you can see just how irrelevant it is with the mutation. The mutation has become the entity. And I love the sense that these guys are just slowly losing themselves to these gifts from the Dark Gods.
Embrace the gifts.
Yeah. There's something so cool when you see like the swollen armor and stuff too, and
chest burster, but different.
Look at the trophy rack on that boy as well. Ooh, check out his trophy rack.
Nice rack, mate. Do you lift?
I love the carbon scoring on that as well. I'm not a huge fan of the multicolor weapons effects that I see some places.
I'm a bit irritated. For one, this is a multi-barrel gun, but the end looks a bit like a flamer.
Like a flame weapon?
Yeah.
Unless it's like 5 or 6 different flame barrels. And it's just these, maybe they're like different color flames. Maybe he's sprinkled a little sulfur and a bit of cobalt into one of them, and it's just this beautiful rainbow stream of
and the joke is on us. That's not a flamer. That's a soap bubble dispenser. just doing little soapy bubbles.
No, that's cool.
And there's our little Skeksis friend again.
I was never a big fan of Zinch. I just never really liked the miniatures. I didn't like the Space Marines either that they released, but conversions like that make me reconsider. That's glorious.
The neck looks a bit uncomfortable, very right angular, but
nothing about Chaos Mutation is comfortable.
No, not in that way. It looks like for him it would be uncomfortable to bend his neck in a 90-degree angle. If it were a bit more like an S shape, that would be more unnatural.
Dutch just called out Realm of Chaos, the Slaves of Darkness. It's phenomenal. I have it on PDF only. I don't have the...
It's just a neck wound, yeah.
It's just a neck wound, yeah.
Imagine him having a stiff neck.
See, that's what happens when you have untreated gout. That's what it turns into. It just screws a beak eventually. But no, I love that, and I think that Chaos should be unpleasant to look at. I think it should be a celebration of the weird and the grotesque.
Yeah.
When Horus Heresy, like back then, like I don't think there were many mutations apart from the Primarchs or whatever when they were reborn or reimagined.
Well, they just started, so there couldn't be that many.
Yeah, whereas when all the demons start to appear, when they're on Terra, it's like, and it's like, that's gross, not really realizing we're all going to become them. That's what we're going to end up turning into. Why
Yeah,
is it all horny man to pie? Just spiky?
horny, horny, horny. Well, that's the influence of Zinch, I think.
Horny would be what, Slanesh?
Oh, Slanesh, yeah.
Pleasure, pain. Yeah.
How should I know?
How should you know? Imagine being act lead on your own show. Actually, I think you'll find that's Slanesh.
I only know corn.
I only know corn. Like,
corn is nice. Corn is simple. Just go straight for Adam. Use your axe. Split some
all
skulls.
About the Nurgle. All about the Nurgle, because Nurgle's all about love and life. And it's never
Nurgle grants you his gifts.
Right? I remember reading that in Spike magazine when they were talking about Nurgle, where it's like this star player was like in the middle of a really important part of the match, and Grandfather Nurgle was like, "I shall bless him. He is good," and he turns into this big flop, just blob of meat. And of course, he can't play Blood Bowl as a blob of meat. So it's like, "Well done, my son." He's just like, "Oh, thanks very much." And that's Nurgle. That's just like, it's never going to be good for you.
Well, but you can spread the love.
Yeah.
I also like the corn slogan is so easily remembered. Blood for the blood god, skulls for the throne.
And the symbol as well. I used to have that in all my school books. It clearly looked so satanic. But
I was just going to ask, did your teacher ask your parents to come in at some point?
Yes. not even lying. Yes. But not about that. But I imagine that in a very conservative school, having symbols of corn and blood for the blood god written over your copybook, it's gonna be noticed.
Yeah, I remember when we were in 12th grade and we visited England. I mean, we were 17, 18 at the time, and school uniforms are a complete mystery to any German student. What's a school uniform? Why should we do that? And my satchel for all my pencils was covered in DIY metal band brandings.
Oh yeah,
Saxon, Iron Maiden, Metallica, Megadeth, and everything. And you're a guest in this school in England, and they're all so tightly, neatly dressed, and you make me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, but
it's scary.
It's corrosion within the conformity. That's where it becomes really interesting. When you have free reign to dress how you like and draw whatever you like on your notebooks, that's just easy. When you have to conform to the rules, and you still have that, you pull back the leaf of a book or the cover of a book, and in there like Slayer drawings or Eddie from Iron Maiden drawn on in a really bad way. That's true corrosion. Yeah, that's the real deal.
Yeah. Pete, good night. Have a good night's sleep. And I think if I had been on a Catholic school or any kind of British school for a longer time, there would have been blood in some way.
Yeah, all of our sports were so brutal at the school as well. It was like cricket in the winter and field hockey and rugby as well. Everything was just... I mean, cricket's not really all that dangerous, but the field hockey and rugby on an icy pitch, yeah, they just... Yeah. And you didn't even have the luxury of being able to listen to Slayer on your lunch break. Yeah, it's not good.
Not having your iPod in your ear all the time.
Yeah, they didn't play hurling at our school, but I did play it at the weekends, and it is one of the most dangerous human activities that exists. It is just the most
can't
lethal
really
thing.
Put that to any sports. For me, hurling is something like vomiting.
Hurling is playing with these long, about, I guess, slightly longer than a cricket bat, and it's got a flat end to it that sort of goes out. and the ball is wrap. It's kind of like a cricket ball, but with a seam. And everything about and you didn't used to wear helmets, and everything sounds terrible, and it was just that terrible. It was that easy to get injured, and when the ball came in from a high pass, and everyone went up with their sticks up, we're talking teeth and bones, and it was blood for the blood god. Yeah, hurling is the official sport of corn, I think. Yeah.
Oh god. Yeah, that's you British are weird, and you're Irish even worse.
The tradition started with it discouraging the opponents in a battle. Like, you would have their row of forces on the hill, and you'd have your row of forces in the opposing hill, and they'd send in somebody to act as like conciliary or intermediary, and they come over there and say, "These are our demands." And so traditionally, you lop their head off, wander out, get it up on your battle axe, and boink it back over to the enemy. Thus, hurling was born.
That I can get behind. That can I understand. But as a sports activity,
everything I said is awesome about why that should be a continuing sport. On ice, if they did that. Now, hurling on ice. Now, there you go.
I feel a musical coming on. Hurling on ice. Next on Disney Plus.
But yes, I am all out of projects to send you.
What a happy coincidence. I'm all out of juice.
Look at that. That's just, it's almost like we scripted the entire thing. Stormtroopers hurling on ice. Yes. Yeah. All missing the ball. Yeah.
Oh, that. Can you imagine stormtroopers playing ice hockey?
I can imagine them having zero visibility of where the puck is, and also being largely invisible to each other because they're white on white.
Exactly.
It would just be lots of clanking plastic armor.
It would be hilarious.
And heavy breathing forces of the Empire. Yeah.
I should do a petition for the 501st. You lot need to reenact some kind of ice skating event in the Empire.
Do you know something I really wanted to do was make Blood Bowl on ice? Do you remember Mutant League Football, the video game, and then they made Mutant League Hockey?
Yeah, I vaguely remember the title.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much Blood Bowl, but it was kind of like Madden's football with Blood Bowl, or NHL with Blood Bowl, that kind of fantasy version of it. But I always wanted a board game that was Blood Bowl on ice. I think that would have been just fantastic.
Yeah, you need some kind of inertia rule that when your runner is running, he needs 4 more movement points to stop.
To stop, yeah.
Otherwise, he'll just slam into the wall or into the audience and get beat up.
That would be even better. Yeah. I think the problem always with those things and anything that involves driving, like the old Dark Future game or Battle Cars, was just the sense of speed. You're trying to give this feeling that you're driving really fast through the desert or going across ice or something, and it's just so slow. It's taking
that's why you need an inertia, or like with the BattleTrack advanced rules, when you run on pavement and you want to turn and you need to make a pilot skill check to see if you're not falling flat on your Mac. Just because
in BattleTech, is that right?
Yeah,
that's cool.
If you're running on tarmac, also smooth surfaces, and you make a turn, you need to make a piloting skill check, and if you fail, your Mac falls on his ass.
It just goes skidding.
It just goes slonk. You just stumble. That can be very annoying. So this is a road. I can run. Oh, I need to change course of direction. Fuck.
I always remember doing that in like rally games where you would go from the gravel bit to the tarmac, and it was like, the luxury of grip. Yeah. But yeah, I'm thinking about doing a BattleTech diorama at some point in the near future. I think that could be, it's something that when I went looking for examples, there were very few. So I think that could be something cool to dig
I
into.
think the problem with BattleTech dioramas is mainly most models are the same scale. So if you're wanting to do something bigger, it's hard to get a bigger version of a Mac.
Yeah, I think I'd like to do it because they're tiny, and the thing I don't like about a lot of the Catalyst miniatures is that they aren't really that exciting to look at.
No, they're box standard one-piece miniatures.
Yeah, and then their arms will be down by their side or up, but I think there's some work you could do there with like removing limbs, putting a bit of motion into it. And I think you can still work at that scale and make it interesting. But it's just going to be a lot of kit bashing.
Yeah, and maybe at that point you would be easier off to get the Rapatha metal miniatures, which are still being sold in Europe.
Yeah,
because those are modular, still coming in pieces, so you don't have to take your jigsaw to your plastic bits.
Yeah,
No, Dutch, sadly no scale model battle mechs because some god awful reason of Robotech issues with Harmony Gold and all the fuckery. But you can get 3D printed files, so yada yada yada.
Yeah, I think I'll try the challenge of Catalyst. I'll try to keep it within their brand to see if there's anything I can do to make it interesting.
As Amanda just mentioned, in the current Kickstarter, there's a 4-inch tall miniature you get with your pledge.
Ooh.
So this is one up, and they have, and I'm totally forgetting how that range is called. They are doing an experimental, I think almost 6-inch tall miniatures.
Wow.
Pseudo museum scale wise, and they have some prototypes, but I don't know if you can buy them already or if they scheduled for a later release.
A good few friends who are heavily into BattleTech in Ireland, they even kicked off like a weekly game that they have in Dublin, and they've got a huge amount of people sort of joining now, trying it out, getting involved in it, which is brilliant to see for any tabletop game.
The Kickstarter passed 5 million.
Yeah, I know, and it's incredibly popular, and I have struggled in years past to see it being played anywhere. So it's great to see now. The last couple of Irish conventions I went to, there was a big play area dedicated to it. There was a retailer there doing it, and I think that it's one of those things I'm going to tap into them and say like, hey, are you going all in on that pledge? Can I make a cool diorama out of your the 6-inch miniature if you pay for that? And then gift them back the diorama once it's filmed.
The funny thing is, it's one of the cheapest games to get into. If you get the entry level beginners box 2 max for €20.
I think I have one of those here somewhere. I'm doing a Jerry here and being like, oh, I think I have one of those just sitting over there.
It's the cheapest way to get into that thing, and I'm just looking at the Kickstarter. 5.4 million.
That's incredible.
18,770 backers, and yeah, 1,274 from the United Kingdom.
Wow, and there's some big Kickstarters happening right now. I mean, there's the new Zombicide is up. There's Mantic's new game. Their Dungeon Saga Origins, which I've gone all in on because it looks insanely good. But it's seeing those bigger tabletop games all happening at the same time in Kickstarter, and they're all doing well.
Yeah, but as Dutch says, the campaign levels at BattleTech are a bit of their own breed.
There's one at like $5,000, wasn't there?
Yeah, the big cuppa. It's the full Kerensky.
Because I know that they had something like 20 of the $5,000 ones came up, and they were like gone straight away. So they did another batch of
only after they clarified on the live stream. Yeah, we're doing another round of those, but those don't grant you access to Kerensky Con this year. Those grant you access to Kerensky Con next year because of limitations in space. Okay. Because that's one of the biggest things for that backing level. There's a very highly sought after internal event of sorts. So yeah,
it's
having $5,000.
Yeah, I saw. Dungeons and Lasers, I think that's 5 or something that came up today. So I want to dig into that tonight. But yeah, seeing that kind of demand for $5,000 pledges is just, what am I missing there? Like, what happens at this convention? Is it
I
like your
think
pagan wedding thing
if you look
with
at the
nudity
fact
and
that
woad?
2/3 of all backers are coming from the US, I
Hmm.
think it's just old players that are now in their 50s and 60s, and they've just, instead of going on a uh, cruise from a what these ship cruises in what usually people do in their late 60s. Caribbean cruise, that's the word I was looking for. Well,
These are the only two things you can think of that you do when you're older. You play BattleTech or go on a cruise.
well, what would you do if we had to choose? Going on a cruise or going to a very distinguished BattleTech convention?
Well, look, Dice Tower do a cruise, so you could have like a BattleTech cruise
Yeah,
where
but
it's just.
on the BattleTech pledge, you also get a lot of miniatures, a bucket
That is
load.
true. That is true. I've always wondered what it would be like being on one of those, like the Dice Tower cruise, where it's just like a bunch of, like, they bring hundreds of board games, and you're kind of in this. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a good sailor, so I'd be a bit green. I don't think that would be my idea of a good time. So even though BattleTech looks very chunky to me rules wise, like it looks like um, a heavy lift, I'd still rather be playing BattleTech. Yeah.
The nice thing about BattleTech is the rules scale on how you want to play. So the beginner's
Sure.
rules you have is a very basic rule set, and then the next step up is a bit more, and after that you can go all in. And
Hmm.
also you have the option to play the Alpha Strike version, which is more like a classical tabletop because that doesn't require you to use hex maps. That's played like
Right.
any other miniatures game with rulers and is said to be faster. I haven't personally played Alpha Strike yet, so I can't tell.
Yeah, I saw how popular it was. And the Irish fella here who does the retail Plastic Rack Gaming, he was, everything that was coming in was selling very fast, and I'd love to have a go of it. Because it sounds like it's right up my alley, that kind of entry level to it. But I think you've mentioned before that you can go in as deep as you want in terms of like having a game up and running, have a bit of a play, a couple of bots against each other, and if you want additional units coming into that, additional unit types, yeah, there's going to be another rules chunk there just to familiarize
Yeah,
yourself with. But I kind of dig that.
and the basic thing is you have a mag and your opponent has a mag, and you just
Hmm.
blow trade blows and then see who's better at navigating and whose
Hmm.
dice luck is a bit better.
Yeah. And yeah, I think Alpha Strike really helped the popularity. I mean, having that sort of not rules light, but just a gentler introduction to it. And once
Also,
you
there's not as much bookkeeping. That I think
right,
that's the thing that turns most people off BattleTech is in the classic BattleTech you have your damage diagrams when you got hit at that location and damage transfers and everything. And at Alpha Strike it said, yeah, you got hit, you lose so many points, and at one point you're dead. Like classic.
yeah. And you can see why people would be into the other side of that, which is like, knowing that this arm is operating at, percentage down, that the armor is going on it, taking another hit, and you're worrying about overheating. You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
see why people would dig the complexity too.
And those people who love this kind of stuff are people that I know that are playing for over 20, 30 years. They
Hmm.
still know their tables in and out, and because BattleTech itself hasn't really changed rules in any way, shape, or form,
Hmm.
it's basically the same rule set as it has been the last 30 years.
That's
Those
incredible.
that knowledge still applies, so they just can
Yeah.
get in back and start playing. Try playing Warhammer 40k from 20 years ago. Good luck
Yeah.
finding those rules.
And as James says, there's a huge amount of lore there. Like the amount
Oh
of
yeah.
I know that some of it started to pop up on Audible, so you can experience it as an audiobook if that's how you absorb your
And that's the
literature.
thing that Cataclysm also really jumped in very much after the last Kickstarter. They are releasing new stories, not only re-releasing old stuff, but they're doing new novels. I've got, I think, about 35 books sitting next door, just Battletech novels, and that's not even half of what has ever been published in German. So make of that what you will.
That's incredible. Yeah, I think I'm gonna dig into it. I'm kind of in, I was in a Horus Heresy run there, and then working my way through Siege of Terra. And as long as the next Beckwin book doesn't come out, I'm going to dig into some BattleTech audiobooks.
Yeah, and they have named characters that are either likable or despicable. Depends on your preferences. You have your factions that you can like or dislike, and you just go nuts. And those are all represented in the game. So if you
Super
have
cool.
a special character in any one of the bigger novels you like, yeah, it's pretty highly likely that there's a miniature with that pilot in there somewhere.
And as well as that, there'll be a T-shirt and a coaster and a sticker and a patch. And I love the T-shirts with like the logos of the clans on them, but I feel like such a faker.
And you get dice with the clan logos or your faction logos. You get
cool.
challenge dice, so you can actually have a coin to flip to see who goes first.
Wow.
And it's a coin. It's not plastic. It's real metal.
Right, like Blood Bowl with the plastic ones. Yeah.
Yeah, this thing hurts if you throw it at someone.
Right, you've experience. You know how to render your opponent weakened in the first roll of the dice.
It's like old days metal dreadnoughts. Yeah, if I don't win, and this thing comes flying across the table, you better duck.
I remember the was it the Greater Demon of Slaanesh or something from 40K Second Edition, or maybe it was even Warhammer Fantasy. I'm not sure, but it was metal and huge, and I'd say I got a week out of that at best without something falling off, just because of it had this huge like cow head on it, like a bull head, and that thing would just topple over all the time. I used to play it in a chaos team in Blood Bowl, and it would always embarrass me by one of its limbs or something falling off in the middle of
Just leave it lying down.
Yeah, it's fine. It'll grow back.
Tis but a flesh wound.
Tis but a flesh wound. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we've taken up enough time of the lovely audience. Nick, thank you for jumping in on a short notice. Looking forward to your video tomorrow. You lot out there in chat, thank you for being there, and you lot on YouTube. Maybe give that lad a visit when he's when you're done watching this here, and granny painting. See you lot next week. Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye.